Right now we have central located generator plants. They pump the energy up to 300,000 volts and send it out over these lines. Bring it into transformers, bring it down to 220 volts for you and I to work with. The problem is that if that system goes down or those lines go down, people freeze to death in the winter because they lose power. And look what happened in Kentucky a couple of years ago when they had that big ice storm. I mean, a lot of people got cold. They put them far away. Nobody sees them. They don't see the pollution they're getting or anything like that. But on a clean system, what I call the clean smart grid, basically is thousands of little systems all networked together at the 220 level. Now, you don't have a voltage dangerous enough to kill people. There's so many systems all networked together. It can be in a person's garage, can be on a building, can be in somebody's barn, all networked together on a small system. And if one system goes down for a storm or what have you, you run an extension cord to your neighbor, he's got one. You don't have that kind of system. Most people understand that a small network system is much more efficient. And when you get enough of them hooked together and they're all working together, not everybody's going to use the same amount of energy. And the way the Kinetic power plant works is the energy that's not being used is recycled back into the storage system. So even the energy that's not being used is still being resaved. And because it's coming in free, a little loss is acceptable. So yes, that can be done. They spent almost, well, let's see, the Bay City coal-fired plant that they wanted to build last year or the year before that we stopped because we already have 18 of them in this state now. We don't need any more. Estimated cost is probably upwards of around $3 billion. I could build a lot of wind energy collection machines and storage machines for $3 billion. The wind blade that you see, the small one, I bought the parts from Home Depot and somebody donated some rubber roofing. The whole blade system cost me $40.22 with tax to make. It doesn't have to be expensive.
And it spins differently. I mean,
it spins vertically, yes.
Yeah.
Well,
why is that?
It's a more efficient way to collect the energy, and because I can, like this tower you got right behind you that you're using for holding
the set together
lights and things like that. Yeah, they're light trusses, but yeah. It's the same thing as a ham radio tower. In fact, that's what that is a ham tower. It's the exact same size and everything, or an amateur radio tower or TV antenna tower. Because of the fact that there's only a bearing at the top spinning and there's a drive shaft to the ground, all your weight's on the ground. Being a tech before I became an engineer, a friend of mine, Jeff Broughton, I hope you don't mind me using his name, but very genius electronics guy. Ham radio, he got me into electronics pretty heavy or helped me get there. He says, be a tech first. Learn from other engineers' mistakes. It'll make you a better engineer. Made sense to me. So I started out as a technician. But yeah, keep it simple. Make it easy to fix. Put it on the ground. Now you can walk up if something goes. You pop the cover up, pop a coil out. You don't have to climb a tower or nothing. In the air, you've only got 2 bearings. So there's no reason for you to go up there once it's up. The likelihood of it failing is so nominal that, you know, especially if you use something like a car bearing. They're good for 100,000 miles with 10,000 pounds of weight on them and salt and everything else. You put a couple bearings like that up there, you'd be dead before they wear out. You know, there's no weight. So I'm losing my place.
That's okay. But speaking of car bearings and petroleum and energy, where do we go from here? We're looking at $4 a gallon now. If it goes any higher, there's always that talk of a breaking point where the consumer isn't going to take it anymore. We've got these lithium-ion battery plants that have been built. Where are we heading right now? You know, we're kind of at this point of, well, there are these alternative vehicles. The consumer will decide where we head, and yet there still is oil. Cars are still run on gasoline. You do have your alternative energy gurus who bring their cars and their motorcycles out to 28th Street, and we were there. We have got the video of the motorcycles and some of the cars that were there. You have your Zyke bike, which runs on electricity, but you have a solar panel on the top.
Right. Yeah, I haven't had to plug that in over 2 years. I just get in and drive. It's kind of nice.
Where do we head, though, as a society and as a country? Will the consumer decide, or?
It's show and tell. People have to see it. I got a chance last year to drive an electric car. 0 to 50 miles an hour in 4 seconds is cool, especially when you don't have to shift. I mean, you just get in until you're there. I got a ride in a Tesla last year. That's 0 to 60 in 3.9 seconds, and I think they're being modest. I think it's actually more like 3.7. But either way, it pinned me to the seat and no shifting until we were already up to that speed, which is really, and it's quiet. You can hear the birds chirping as you go by. People say, well, nobody will hear you. Yeah, but you're quiet enough, you can yell, they'll hear you. I have a friend of mine that's blind. He said that. He says, yeah, but I can yell at you. I don't have to talk over the engine. As far as the future goes, there's a lot of development. The technology's there. The batteries are the key. And energy storage and the way to do it. There's a lot of different batteries coming out. There's a lot of technology that our military's had for years that they can't release yet just because they don't want to. I mean, there's an organic battery out there that works on bacteria that eats, and when it eats, it produces electricity. So it's kind of like feeding cat food to it, and that's your fuel to run it. But it doesn't produce, I don't know if that technology produces CO2. I don't know enough about it, but I know it exists. Like I said, Professor Walker is working on a AC battery. That's a crystal battery, not a chemical. The idea is to hit it with 15 seconds of energy to get it to its crystalline state with the field in it, and it'll run your house for 6 months to 2 years, or your car. That will be a very fantastic system in itself. Tesla was actually able to transmit energy through an antenna just like a radio wave. He used voltage, though, at resonant frequencies that weren't affecting people. Just like a cell phone at 900 megahertz is bad. It takes out neurons and cells. But in the right frequencies, you could do that. So now you just put an antenna on your car, and that runs your motors in your electric vehicles. No batteries required. That's a possible way of doing it. The other batteries that are coming, the types of vehicles that are out there, we got smart cars now. They're advertising them out in California. They're basically two-wheel Segways or two-seater Segways with little canopies. They'll go 40 miles on a charge. Charge in 3.5 hours with a lithium-ion sulfide batteries, or phosphate. I'm not sure what that is. I always mix those up. Anyway, all of that is all coming our way as well. I see our future with electric trains, high-speed rail, that go from city to city at 500-600 miles an hour. And you pull your little Segway car in that'll travel 40 miles in the city into little docking stations. You never even have to get out of your car. You just pull in, park in there, get on the train, and bang, 15 minutes later in another city, you're all charged up by the charging system in the train, and now you're good for another 40 miles in that city. Or you've made it home, and you're just heading home from there. That kind of infrastructure is what I see happening in the future, along with personalized vehicles that will travel across country. The generator system on the trailer with the Zyke bike is very crude. I made most of it out of trash, or very simple things I had on hand. But that basically is the predecessor to the family camper. It has a wind energy system, a battery charging system, 4 electric motors. There are also generators for the wheels. So it's all-wheel drive, which is maximum traction, maximum efficiency. And then you have some solar and some other things. That's what's capable of being done today. A few years from now, as the technology and people start pooling their sources together, sky's the limit, baby. There's no limit to what we can do.